Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles and you're watching Eagle News International. On tonight's headlines. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that a Russian demand of Ukrainian neutrality, a key issue for Moscow at conflict negotiations, is being closely looked at by Kiev's negotiators. President Joe Biden's apparent call for Vladimir Putin's exit reverberated instantly around the world, sparking an administration rush to course correct and risk scrambling U.S. efforts to rally a united front on the Ukraine conflict. And millions of people in China's financial hub were confined to their homes today as the eastern half of Shanghai went into lockdown to curb the country's biggest ongoing COVID-19 outbreak. And at the Oscars, Will Smith storming the Oscar stage and strikes comedian Chris Rock across the face for joking about his wife. First in our news, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that a Russian demand of Ukrainian neutrality, that is a key issue for Moscow at the conflict negotiations, is now being closely looked at by Kiev's negotiators. Take a look.
Этот пункт гарантии безопасности для Украины, а так как они говорят, это и для них, он понятен мне, его обсуждают, он глубоко проработан.
The Kremlin earlier this month said Sweden and Austria offered models of neutrality that Ukraine could adopt to help end Russia's invasion in Ukraine. Now, Ukraine rejected the proposal, saying only Kiev could design a system that would be acceptable to Ukrainians. Speaking with Russian journalists, Zelensky accused Russian leader Vladimir Putin of dragging out negotiations and prolonging the conflict. He said, "We have to come to an agreement with the president of the Russian Federation. But to reach an agreement," he said, "he has to get up from where he is and come and meet me." Russian media regulator Roskomnadzor warned media outlets against broadcasting the interview with Zelensky, saying they could be subject to investigation and action could be taken against them. Negotiations to end more than a month of fighting in Ukraine have focused on Ukraine staying out of NATO, disarmament and security guarantees. The two sides are due to meet for a second round of face-to-face talks next week in Turkey. About 20,000 Ukrainians have now been killed in Russia's month-old invasion and 10 million have fled their homes, according to Kiev, and several cities are still coming under withering bombardment. Meanwhile, Ukraine is warning the humanitarian crisis in the pulverized city of Mariupol is now catastrophic, while signaling grounds for compromise ahead of new face-to-face peace talks with Russia and Turkey. At the Lviv train station, people fleeing the Russian siege of the city of Mariupol describe the horror of the situation there. Take a look.
В общем, я такого ужаса вообще не видела. А Мариуполя вообще нет. Нет больниц, нет театра, нет выставочных залов, вообще ничего нет. Мариуполь это просто, это Грозный. Школы, садики, все разрушены, дома разрушены. Это вообще, это ужас был.
We have no choice. If we want to leave, we must escape. It is no chance to live there, to survive there, no chance. My mother is dead and I haven't even the ability to bury it. I left my mom at the yard like a dog because everybody is shooting from rifle, a lot of troops, a lot of soldiers everywhere.
Meanwhile, the Kremlin today expressed concern after U.S. President Joe Biden called the Russian leader Vladimir Putin a butcher over his military operation in Ukraine. During a visit to Poland on Saturday, Biden dubbed Putin a butcher who cannot remain in power. Take a look.
You know, you're dealing every day with Vladimir Putin. And look at what he's done to these people. What does it make you think?
He's a butcher. He's a butcher.
Now, this is a statement that is certainly alarming, according to Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, telling reporters during his daily press briefing. He said, "We will continue closely monitoring statements of the U.S. president." During a visit to Poland on Saturday, Biden dubbed Putin a butcher who cannot remain in power. The White House later scrambled. It sparked an administration rush to course correct and risk scrambling U.S. efforts to rally a united front on the Ukraine conflict. First, let's listen in.
Different future, a brighter future, rooted in democracy and principles, hope and light, of decency and dignity, of freedom and possibilities. For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
Now, Biden's comment that the Russian president cannot remain in power, delivered in Warsaw at the close of 3 days of marathon diplomacy, was termed a horrendous gaffe by one Republican senator, Senator Jim Risch. The remarks ran 180 degrees counter to the Biden administration's constant efforts until now to stop the conflict from escalating. There's not a whole lot more you can do to escalate than to call for regime change, he told CNN. Richard Haas, an American diplomat who heads the Council on Foreign Relations, said Biden had made a difficult situation more difficult, more dangerous. And even France's President Emmanuel Macron warned such language could escalate a conflict the United States and its NATO allies have sought at all costs to contain and undercut Western efforts to help suffering Ukrainians. The remarks came as Biden wound up a forceful speech on Saturday, capping what had been a widely praised European visit aimed at presenting a determined front against Russia's invasion. His ad-libbed words, "this man," referring to Putin, cannot remain in power, caught even U.S. advisors off guard. In a new report, the UN Trade, Investment and Development Agency warns that the conflict raging in Ukraine is causing a global economic slowdown that is hitting developing countries the hardest. UNCTAD Chief Rebecca Greenspan demands a coordinated international response to help poorer countries weather the crisis. Take a look.
Net importers of food are the ones that will suffer more. We have a list of 36 countries that are very dependent on the imports of food, especially of wheat, maize, and cereals coming from Ukraine and Russia that has to be watched initially with urgency. Coordinated action is urgent to preclude a domino effect in the developing countries, that domino effect in the debt crisis, a domino effect in the hunger crisis, a domino effect in the global financial architecture. They are more restricted now than they were in the pre-COVID. The amount of money that is available in the World Bank, so they have to put...
lead to a larger slowdown in economic growth than we might anticipate, and
a problem in an orderly manner. The common framework reserves.
Speaking at an unprecedented meeting in Israel attended by 4 Arab foreign ministers, U.S. State Secretary Antony Blinken said the gains brought about by the Abraham Accords are not a substitute for progress between Palestinians and Israelis. Take a look.
As we do, we have to be clear that these regional peace agreements are not a substitute for progress between Palestinians and Israelis. One of the issues we discussed today was how countries involved in the Abraham Accords and normalization, as well as those that have long-standing diplomatic relationships with Israel, can support the Palestinian Authority and the Palestinian people in concrete ways and have a positive impact on the daily lives of Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza.
The top U.S. diplomat aims to show that the United States still has a deep interest in the Middle East, even as the region has dropped in importance for Washington, as China and now the Russian invasion of Ukraine have risen to the top of priorities. He also hopes to rally support for the U.S. and NATO effort to blunt the Russian aggression amid heavy economic fallout from the war, including spiking energy prices and the threat of a wheat shortage that could hit Arab countries severely. And early Monday, Prime Minister Naftali Bennett's office confirmed he had caught COVID a day after he held closed-door meetings with Blinken, followed by joint press conference without masks. The State Department said Blinken, who was out jogging in the Negev early Monday, was the only member of the U.S. delegation considered a close contact of Prime Minister Bennett's, and that he would follow public health guidelines, including by masking and undergoing appropriate testing. The Negev meetings come amid rising regional concerns over a deal Washington could soon reach with Iran to restore the 2015 nuclear deal. Israel and most Gulf Arab countries are skeptical of a revived deal with Tehran, which the Jewish state considers a threat to its existence. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett tweets that Israel's security forces will adjust quickly to the new threat after 2 police officers were shot dead in an attack claimed by the Islamic State group in the northern city of Hadera. Now, 2 police officers were shot dead in an attack claimed by ISIS in Hadera late Sunday as top U.S. and Arab diplomats were visiting the Jewish state for an unprecedented regional meeting. Police said the 2 gunmen, Israeli Arabs identified by Israeli intelligence as local IS operatives, were killed by counter-terrorism officers who happened to be nearby. A government security official said the 2 assailants were ISIS operatives from El Fam, an Arab-Israeli city. Earlier on Tuesday, a man wielding a knife stabbed several people and ran over another in southern Israel, killing 4 in one of the deadliest attacks in the country in recent years. And authorities identified the attacker as an Israeli Arab who had previously been convicted for supporting ISIS. In other news, millions of people in China's financial hub were confined to their homes on Monday as the eastern half of Shanghai went into lockdown to curb the country's biggest ongoing COVID-19 outbreak. Now, the move announced late Sunday caused a run on grocery stores by residents who have become exasperated with authorities' inability to snuff out the outbreak despite nearly 3 weeks of increasingly disruptive measures. Authorities are imposing a 2-phase lockdown of the city of about 25 million people to carry out mass testing. The government had sought to avoid the hard lockdowns regularly deployed in other Chinese cities, opting instead for rolling localized lockdowns to keep Shanghai's economy running. But Shanghai has in recent weeks become China's COVID hotspot, and on Monday another record high was reported with 3,500 new confirmed cases in the city. The unpredictable neighborhood-level measures employed in recent weeks have left many citizens frustrated with repeated brief confinements at home, and some are even complaining that only several hours' notice was given for the new, larger lockdown. And up next, actor Will Smith stormed the Oscar stage and struck comedian Chris Rock across the face for joking about his wife in a moment at Sunday's gala that immediately went viral and left attendees and viewers stunned. That and more when Eagle News International returns.
The renewable energy resource of the Philippines. Si Mig Subiri ang nag-akda ng Renewable Energy Act na nagpasok ng 1 trilyong pisong pondo na nagbigay ng trabaho sa halos 3 milyong Pilipino, nagdala ng liwanag sa milyong-milyong tahanan at nagpaunlad sa libu-libong komunidad sa Pilipinas.
Pangako sa inyo mga kababayan, sa tulong ninyo, itutuloy natin ang pagsulong ng mga batas tulad nito.
Yang ka na naman sa kakabawal mo, Mr. Bawal eh. Napaka-KJ mo.
Walang magandang dulot ang pag-inom. Lalo na't eleksyon ngayon. Bawal yan!
Ayon sa Omnibus Election Code, ang pagbibenta, pagbili o pag-inom ng alak sa araw ng eleksyon ay isang election offense.
Inggit ka lang! Oye, oye! Pakawalan niyo ako! Hindi na ako uulit!
Hay nako. Nasa uli talaga ang pagsisisi. Don't drink and vote. Ako si Mr. Bawal na nagpapaalala na hindi na nga mabuti ang pag-inom ng alak. Tapos sa eleksyon, gagawin mo pa? Bawal yan!
A public service message of Net25 for Mata ng Halalan 2022. Matatag, matapang, matapat.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Ilalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Mula noon hanggang ngayon, gabay natin ang MTRCB ratings sa matalino at responsableng panonood. Sa tamang pagsunod sa MTRCB ratings, ginagawa nating ligtas at makabuluhan ang panonood ng bawat miyembro ng pamilyang Pilipino. Lumipas man ang panahon hanggang may pamilyang Pilipino, andyan ang MTRCB.
Welcome back. Thousands of Coloradans were placed under evacuation orders for the latest wildfire to tear through parts of the Rocky Mountain U.S. state, where authorities Sunday said the blaze was partially contained. The flames, burning some 200 acres or 81 hectares near Boulder, come just 3 months after the powerful, fast-moving Marshall Fire caused devastation in Boulder County, destroying more than 1,000 homes and leaving 2 people missing and presumed dead. Boulder Fire Rescue officials said this weekend's fire was less intense, but nevertheless edged within hundreds of yards of homes in the city's southern suburbs and a National Atmospheric Research Center, forcing the evacuations of nearly 20,000 residents late Saturday. Although fires are a natural part of the climate cycle and help to clear dead brush, Their scale and intensity are now increasing, and scientists say a warming climate chiefly caused by human activities such as the unchecked burning of fossil fuels is altering weather patterns. Boulder-based climate scientist Daniel Swain, who closely monitored the latest fire, tweeted that current conditions are unseasonably hot, dry, and windy. In other news, Malacanang on Sunday urged residents near the vicinity of Taal Volcano to remain vigilant after its latest activity triggered an alert level 3 status. In a press statement, acting presidential spokesperson Martin Andanar said, "We urge all residents of affected barangays and communities to remain alert, vigilant, get news updates from trusted sources and authorities, and cooperate with concerned agencies while the volcano situation is being monitored for any developments." Andanar said the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council and its regional counterparts and local government units are implementing all relevant precautionary measures, including evacuation of high-risk communities near the volcano island as well as fishermen in Taal Lake. He also said the Department of Social Welfare and Development has quick response teams and standby stockpile of food and non-food items to augment local supplies when needed. As of Sunday morning, there are 854 families or 2,894 persons inside 12 evacuation centers in Calabarzon, which comprises the provinces of Cavite, Laguna, Batangas, Rizal, and Quezon. Taal Volcano's alert status was raised to alert level 3, meaning magmatic unrest on Saturday due to a phreatomagmatic eruption, an explosion that occurs when magma and water interact. The United States and the Philippines launched the largest ever joint military drills in the archipelago nation, signaling deepening defense ties as fresh tensions surface in the disputed South China Sea. Take a look.
It's important to recognize that Balikatan is a tremendous training opportunity that will test and enhance the readiness that we have and strengthen the bond between our nations. Many of the service members participating in this year's exercise have trained together before. So in many ways, it's like old friends coming together to train together again, reconnecting with people that we call brothers and sisters now.
With this big number of participants, it is with pride to note that this year's exercise will be the largest attended activity ever to be conducted over the years. Moreover, the Philippine-US Balikatan 2022 is truly special, as the magnitude of this year's exercise is a testament to the deepening alliance of our two countries.
The exercises will cover maritime security, amphibious operation, live fire training, counterterrorism and humanitarian assistance, and disaster relief. Recent maneuvers between the two countries focused on potential conflict in the South China Sea, which Beijing claims almost in its entirety. Trillions of dollars in trade pass through the strategic sea, and it's thought to contain rich petroleum deposits, making it a frequent source of regional friction. Now, on the eve of the joint drills, the Philippine Coast Guard accused its Chinese counterpart of steering one of its ships within meters of a Filipino patrol boat near the disputed Scarborough Shoal, a flashpoint between the two countries. Take a look. Now, this incident happened on March 2 near the contested Scarborough Shoal, one of the region's richest fishing grounds, and a flashpoint between the two countries, but was only made public on Sunday. It was the fourth time in the past year that a Chinese Coast Guard vessel had conducted close-distance maneuvering near the shoal, according to the Philippine Coast Guard in a statement. China seized Scarborough Shoal from the Philippines back in 2012 following a tense standoff, and the Southeast Asian country continues to patrol the waters around the shoal, which is inside its exclusive economic zone. PCG Chief Admiral Artemio Abu said the behavior of the involved China Coast Guard vessels increased the risk of collision with 4 of our capital ships. In the March 2 incident, the PCG said the Chinese vessel came within about 19 meters of its patrol boat, which was in clear violation of the 1972 international regulations for preventing collisions at sea. The PCG has referred the matter to the Foreign Ministry, which recently summoned China's ambassador over a separate incident involving a Chinese Navy ship lingering in the Philippines' archipelagic waters. Abu said his agency was under government orders to maintain patrols near Scarborough Shoal, where Filipino fishermen continue to fish. Meanwhile, the Department of Transportation Secretary Art Tugade has directed the PCG to continue upholding its mission of promoting the safety of life and property at sea and enforcing all applicable laws within the Philippine waters in support of national development. As President Duterte marks his 77th birthday today, his birthday wish is for a clean, fair, and honest elections come May 9.
Fulfilled na ako sa lahat na bagay. Wala na akong mahingi. I am on my sunset of my life. I walk with a limp dahil sa numerous disgrasya sa motor. Hindi talaga ako nadala I'm coming home. God willing. Kita ko Pilipinas, okay naman.
Now, according to acting presidential spokesperson Martin Andanar, he said his birthday wish for this year is to have a clean, fair, and honest election in May 2022, as he has time and again underscored the importance of a peaceful transfer of power as part of his enduring legacy. During the U.S.-led Summit for Democracy on December 10 last year, the president said it would be his highest honor to turn over the reins of power to his successor, knowing that he did his best to serve the Filipino nation. Last month, the president said he had begun packing up his belongings in Malacanang and was looking forward to turning over the leadership of the country to his successor in June. The fate of national and local candidates will be decided by over 65 million Filipinos who are expected to cast their votes on May 9, and this will be the first polls that will be held under pandemic conditions. In other news in the country, Mayor Emmy Calixto Rubiano told reporters in a Viber message that the Pasay City government on Monday declared a major victory in its fight against COVID-19 with 0 active cases. The Pasay City Epidemiology and Surveillance Unit said all COVID patients admitted in all of its isolation facilities and in Pasay City General Hospital have already recovered from COVID. Rubiano attributed a significant drop in the number of cases to the government's massive vaccination efforts. And here are the highlights of the 94th Oscars Academy Awards, including Will Smith storming the Oscar stage and strikes his comedian Chris Rock across the face for joking about his wife. Ariana DeBose's Best Supporting Actress win. A moment of silence for the people of Ukraine. Here's more.
Jada, I love you. G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it. All right? That was a nice one. Okay. I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me. Wow, dude.
Yeah.
It was a G.I. Jane jump.
Keep my wife's name out mouth.
I'm going to, okay? Okay.
Richard Williams was a fierce defender of his family. In this time in my life, in this moment, I am overwhelmed.
Ariana DeBose, West Side Story.
This is the first Oscar and nomination.
You know what? Now you see why.
that Anita says, I want to be an America, because even in this weary world that we live in, dreams do come true.
Okay, Coda.
Thank you to the Academy for letting our Coda make history tonight.
I really want to thank the Academy for recognizing a movie of love and family on this difficult time.
Okay, Dune, Greg Fraser.
Nomination for Jessica. Cause of death in the United States. It's touched many families. It's touched mine.
Jane Campion, Power of the Dog.
This is the second Oscar and fifth nomination. The 28th anniversary of Pulp Fiction. Here are Academy Award nominee Uma Thurman, Oscar winner Samuel L. Jackson, and Academy Award nominee John Travolta.
Actors stay in character through an entire shoot, and some, well, they just never let it go.
Maybe later we'll have a $5 milkshake.
Yeah, how about a Royale with cheese?
See what I mean?
And as always, I'll end the day on a thoughtful note. Our ability to look back and smile at our past is proof that God's plan is to keep us moving forward. This has been Eagle News International. I'm Alma Angeles. Stay alert, stay informed, because we live in interesting times. Good night.